When we think of Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, images of him swinging his hips and singing on stage often come to mind. But few know that by 1962, Elvis was also starring in Hollywood films, and his journey there was as unexpected as it was intriguing. Let's take a trip back to explore how this musical legend found himself acting in movies, particularly in Hawaii. In the early 60s, Elvis had just finished a string of successful albums. His last album, Potluck, topped the US charts and soared to #1 in the UK. The album showcased new songwriters like Pomus and Schumann, who crafted hits such as Gonna Get Back Home Somehow and Night Rider. These songs echoed the spirit of travel, especially trains, which captured the imagination of the public. But Elvis's focus wasn't solely on music anymore. In 1961, he starred in Blue Hawaii, which became a massive hit, reaching #1 in the UK. Following its success, Hal Wallis and Norman Foster, the producers, quickly planned another film featuring Elvis. They chose Girls, 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 released in 1962, set partly on the beautiful islands of Hawaii. The idea behind Girls, Girls, Girls was simple. After the success of Blue Hawaii, they wanted to create a similar feel, blending music with a light-hearted story. However, they faced a challenge: how to keep the film interesting without Elvis doing too much action, which wasn't his strength. Instead, the film focused on Elvis's charm and music, with a plot that allowed him to take a back seat at times. The film featured songs that were meant to match the movie's tone. One standout was Gonna Get Back Home Somehow, influenced by Hank Williams' Ramblin' Man. This song, along with others like Long Lonely Highway, captured the essence of travel and movement, something that resonated with audiences. However, not every song fit perfectly into the film's narrative. Some, like Home Is Where the Heart Is, felt out of place in such a carefree setting. The challenge for songwriters like Ruth Batchelor was to craft tunes that fit Elvis's image while also serving the story. This often meant writing songs that sounded more like what fans expected from Elvis rather than what the plot truly required. Elvis's character in Girls, Girls, Girls was a reluctant boxer, a role that required minimal training since his fighting skills were already established. The film also featured Charles Bronson as his sparring partner and Ede Asner in his first film role as a district attorney. This diverse cast added depth to the film, despite its light-hearted nature. Interestingly, Girls, Girls, Girls differed from Elvis's usual films by having a plot that moved forward without him in the spotlight all the time. This was a refreshing change, allowing the story to breathe and the audience to enjoy Elvis's presence in different ways. The making of Girls, Girls, Girls also brought together some interesting behind-the-scenes moments. For instance, British pop star Billy Fury visited the set while filming Return to Sender. He met Elvis, and despite their brief interaction, it highlighted the star power and the unique dynamics of the Hollywood scene in the early 60s. Colonel Parker, Elvis's manager, was keen on expanding Elvis's career beyond music. He even made offers for Elvis to perform in the UK, but Elvis's stage performances weren't as strong as his recordings or films. This decision to keep Elvis in films and records was seen by some as protective, ensuring that fans would continue to buy his music and watch his movies. Despite the challenges, Elvis's foray into film was a significant part of his career, showcasing his versatility and enduring appeal. From the sun-soaked beaches of Hawaii to the studio lots in Hollywood, Elvis's journey was far from over. His films, while sometimes quirky and not always critically acclaimed, were an integral part of his legacy, proving that the King's reach extended far beyond just music. This unexpected chapter in Elvis's career not only entertained audiences but also left a lasting impact on the landscape of Hollywood and popular culture. As we look back, it's clear that Elvis's films were more than just a side project. They were a vital part of his story, shaping the way we remember the iconic Elvis Presley today. Elvis Presley, known for his dynamic performances, also had a keen eye for entertainment from the movies. He enjoyed classics like The Great Escape, starring Steve McQueen, and The Birdman of Alcatraz with Burt Lancaster. His favorites included Wuthering Heights, featuring Laurence Olivier, and Mr. Skeffington with Bette Davis. Elvis appreciated films with strong performances, especially those starring James Dean or Marlon Brando. However, he had little patience for the Keystone Cops, viewing their antics as a mockery of law enforcement. Despite his love for certain actors, Elvis was critical of the scripts in his films. He often found himself in roles with multiple female characters, which puzzled fans given his preference for films with strong leads like those played by Stella Stevens and Laurel Goodwin in Girls, Girls, Girls. Although the film featured 2 leads as its title suggested, it only showcased one prominent female role. Stevens shone in her performance, singing a memorable version of The Nearness of You, a song that suited Elvis's romantic side. Yet it was surprising that Elvis never recorded an album of standards, despite his love for such songs. In one of his films, Elvis played a tuna fisherman, a role that didn't quite fit his usual charismatic image. The script was weak, but a highlight was Elvis speaking Chinese to his co-star, Benson Fong. Despite this quirk, director Hal Wallis approved the script, having trusted Edward Anhalt, the writer, with earlier successful dialogues for Beckett. Despite some flops, Elvis had hits like Return to Sender, a song that showcased the Jordanaires and featured top musicians like Boots Randolph and Scotty Moore. The song reached number 2 in the US and topped the charts in the UK. Elvis's records often played with language like Western Union and US Mail, reflecting his playful side. As Elvis's popularity grew, so did his interest in children, often featuring them in his films. This trend showed his increasing appeal to a younger audience. However, his personal life took a turn in 1962. Anita Wood, his girlfriend at the time, broke up with him, though they remained sporadically connected. Around the same time, Elvis purchased a customized Greyhound bus to travel between Memphis and Los Angeles, turning it into a mobile home for his late-night parties. Elvis also ventured into making a film about the World's Fair in Seattle, aiming to showcase its attractions. However, the resulting movie was more of a travelogue, with Elvis playing various roles, including a charter pilot and a space program participant. The film struggled to tell a coherent story, focusing more on the fair sites. The music for this film was uninspired, with songs that felt like obligatory additions rather than thoughtful compositions. Don Robertson's work stood out slightly, but even his efforts felt unoriginal. Songs like They Remind Me Too Much of You and Relax tried to capture Elvis's romantic side but fell flat, lacking the spark of earlier hits. Meanwhile, Terry Stafford, inspired by Elvis's Suspicion, released a song of his own, I'll Touch a Star, which echoed the original's theme but failed to capture its essence. Elvis's own single, One Broken Heart for Sale, written by Otis Blackwell, was a letdown, only reaching the top 20 and considered one of his weakest performances. Around this time, Priscilla, Elvis's then-girlfriend, moved to Memphis to live with his parents, Vernon and Dee. Initially seen as a stabilizing influence, Priscilla soon found herself entangled in Elvis's lifestyle at Graceland. She was given a puppy and medication, hinting at her parents' disapproval of her close relationship with Elvis. Despite this, Priscilla and Elvis celebrated Christmas together, and he gifted her a diamond ring. As 1963 began, Elvis started filming Fun in Acapulco, a project that seemed more about Elvis's name than any real substance. The plot involved a trapeze artist turned lifeguard pursued by a female bullfighter, a storyline that even Elvis's fans found far-fetched. Despite the absurdity, the film represented another step in Elvis's journey through Hollywood, blending his music with increasingly outlandish stories. Let's talk about Elvis Presley, a legendary singer who made lots of music and movies. Elvis wrote many songs, including Roomba, which showed he wasn't just about one style. Sadly, his life took a dark turn when he discovered his wife was cheating on him. This sad event led him to do something very brave and painful. He jumped from a tall building into his wife's arms and those of her lover, an act that sadly ended his life. Elvis often worked with songwriters, creating hits together. One such writer was Ben Weissman, who teamed up with Fred Wise to create many Elvis songs. Another big name was Don Robertson, who wrote Margarita after visiting a club in San Francisco. Imagine if Elvis had made a Latin album, what a cool mix that would have been. In one of his films, Elvis played a trapeze artist who kills someone in a fit of panic and runs away to start a new life. This story sounds familiar to many who love adventure movies. Elvis had a chance to work with a beautiful actress, Ursula Andress, who was famous for her role in Dr. No. They flirted, but nothing serious happened between them. A fun fact is that Elvis almost made a movie with a mix of music styles, including Mexican influences. However, the songs ended up being not very good. One song, however, stood out, Bossa Nova Baby. It was catchy and became quite popular, even though it wasn't as successful as some of Elvis's other songs. In 1963, RCA announced Elvis had sold 100 million records, a huge deal. Soon after, he went back to Nashville to record new songs, away from his film work. These songs were meant to shine on their own, not just in movies, but many ended up as extra tracks on albums. Later, RCA put these songs together in a special collection called For the Asking, The Lost Album. Elvis worked with great songwriters like Bill Giant, Bernie Baum, and Florence Kay, who wrote songs like You're the Devil in Disguise, which became a big hit. This song shows how even not-so-exceptional songs can become successful with a great performance by Elvis. Another writer, Charlie Daniels, wrote It Hurts Me with Joy Byers. This song was very emotional and showed Elvis's powerful singing ability. Elvis also tried his hand at other songs like Witchcraft, which was originally by a New Orleans group, and Memphis, Tennessee, which Johnny Rivers surprisingly copied and made a hit too. Elvis recorded songs for his movie Viva Las Vegas, where he fell for co-star Anne Margaret. They had fun shooting in Las Vegas, though rumors of romance were just that, rumors. Elvis bought Anne Margaret a motorcycle as a gift. Viva Las Vegas is considered one of Elvis's best films, with a catchy song that, while upbeat, has a hint of irony about the city's bright side.